This anime has a total of 25 episodes, which we will cover through 3 videos. In today's video, we will discuss the first 8 episodes, and in the upcoming 2 videos, I will cover the remaining 17 episodes as well. Just make sure to give this video 10 likes as soon as possible so that I can bring the next episodes quickly. At the beginning of the story, we see a boy named Shinpei Ajiro who is on his way to his hometown, Hitogashima. The date that day was July 22nd, and while on the ferry, he has a vision of his friend Ushio, who tells him to find her. In this vision, Ushio also asks Shinpei to take care of Mio. Let me tell you that Mio is Ushio's younger sister. On the ferry, we also meet a girl wearing a black dress named Hizuru Minakata. Now, let me tell you that Shinpei had not returned to his village for the past 2 years, and today he is coming back because recently, his friend Ushio passed away. As Shinpei gets off the ferry, he sees that Ushio's sister, Mio, has come to receive him. Since Mio was riding her bicycle at high speed, for some reason, the brakes didn't work, and she fell straight into the water. Mio fell into the water because Hitogashima is basically an island. Anyway, both of them then go to Ushio's funeral, where Shinpei learns from his friend so that Ushio drowned in the water. Basically, Ushio was trying to save a little girl named Shirori, but in the process, she ended up drowning herself. At the funeral, Shinpei also finds out from the people there that Dr. Hishigata performed Ushio's autopsy. Suddenly, during the funeral, a flashlight flickers, and Shinpei is shocked to see someone taking photos at the funeral. And yes, let me tell you that Shiori's family also attended the funeral. Shirori is the same little girl Ushio died trying to save. Now, an important thing here is that after this entire incident, Shirori stopped talking completely. Anyway, after all this, Shinpei cooks food for Mio and Alan. Alan is basically Ushio and Mio's father. In the next scene, we see Mio standing outside her house, and a police officer, Tatsumura, notices her doing so. Anyway, at night, after dinner, So tells Shinpei that during the autopsy, the doctor found strangulation marks on Ushio's neck. This suggests that someone intentionally drowned her. This revelation is shocking for Shinpei because Ushio had no enemies, so who could have drowned her on the island? Just then, Mio enters Shinpei's room and gives him Ushio's shell necklace, which Ushio used to wear all the time. Shinpei remembers that he was the one who gave this necklace to Ushio when they were kids, and thinking about it makes him emotional. At that moment, Mio hugs Shinpei and starts crying, and we get a slight hint that Mio has feelings for Shinpei. Now, the interesting point is that Mio also had a feeling that someone intentionally killed Ushio. At this point, let me tell you a bit about Shinpei's backstory, how he is connected to Mio, Ushio, and Alan. 10 years ago, during an accident, Shinpei lost his entire family. Alan, who was Shinpei's father's best friend, took him in, and since then, Shinpei grew up with Ushio and Mio. 2 years ago, Shinpei left for Tokyo for his studies, and during this time, he never returned to Hitogashima Island. But today, he is back for obvious reasons. And as we all know, Shinpei became a part of their family. The next morning, Mio, Shinpei, and Alan are working in their restaurant when a man named Nakamura tells Shinpei, "You came to my place this morning, right? You were looking for a woman in a black coat." Shinpei is shocked because he never went there. Just then, police officer Tatsuka enters the restaurant and informs them that Shirori Kobayakawa's entire family has suddenly disappeared from their home. Basically, the Kobayakawa family ran a grocery store, which didn't open properly today. So their accountant went to check on them at their house, and that's when he discovered something strange. Everything inside the house was in its place, but Shirori and her parents were missing. The local people believe that the family had a lot of debt, so they probably ran away to escape it. But then, the real question is, if they really ran away, wouldn't they have taken some belongings with them? Why would they leave everything behind? Hearing about Shiori's disappearance, Mio becomes sad and leaves the restaurant. Shinpei follows her, and they both sit in a quiet place. While talking, Mio reveals that on the day they all went swimming in the ocean that day, they saw a girl who looked exactly like Ushio. And this is the same thing that Shirori had also said, that she saw someone who looked exactly like her. This means that people on this island are seeing lookalikes of themselves, which suggests the existence of doppelgängers. Just then, a hunter named Nizu appears and tells them that this doppelganger phenomenon is called shadow sickness. And it is kind of an urban legend or perhaps an epidemic of Hitogashima. According to Nizu, this phenomenon was very common around the 1940s and 50s. Whoever saw their shadow was killed soon after. It's like the shadows mark a person, eliminate them, take their form, and then kill their family members as well. This way, the shadows spread throughout the entire village. Now, whoever starts seeing these shadows must visit Hishu Shrine to get themselves cleansed. Hearing all this, Mio and Shinpei feel that they should go to Hishu Shrine to uncover the truth. So they both head to Hishu Shrine, where Mio spots Shirori near the forest. Both of them enter the forest to find Shirori, but they don't find anyone. Suddenly, they hear a gunshot in the distance. A little later, Shinpei sees Hizuru Minakata in front of him, the same black-dressed woman from the ferry. But now, she is severely injured. Mio runs to get help, while Shinpei sits beside her. Hizuru wanted to tell him something, but just then, a bullet went straight through her head, killing her instantly. And then, right nearby, we see that Mio's doppelganger had captured Mio herself and was holding a gun. In fact, Mio's lookalike kills both Mio and Shinpei in the blink of an eye. So yes, our main character dies right in the first episode. But here comes a twist. The scene suddenly changes, and Shinpei finds himself back on the same ferry he took to Hitogashima. And once again, the date is July 22nd. The same incidents start happening again, and Shinpei assumes it must have been a dream. He had been listening to a novel by his favorite writer, Ryunosuke, which mentioned shadows, so he thinks it must have influenced his mind. Anyway, when he gets off the boat, Mio comes to receive him again. And just like before, she falls into the ocean. But this time, Shinpei notices that her bicycle brakes were broken, and it looked as if someone had deliberately cut them. From here on, the incidents unfold in the same way as before. They attend the same funeral, and the same events happen again. The same way again. That evening, Shinpei cooks dinner again, but this time, he goes outside to get some fresh air. Just then, he sees Mio standing outside, staring at her own house, just like before. And the moment Officer Tatsumura calls out to Mio, Mio brutally kills him. Then, a shadow entity takes Tatsumura's place. After assuming his form, the entity also gains access to Tatsumura's memories. During this transformation, there's a sound like a camera flash, and soon, Shinpei also witnesses this whole scene. But unfortunately, his phone rings, as So was calling him, and because of that, the fake Mio notices him. She immediately attacks and kills him. Now, even though Shinpei has died again, he has learned something important. The Mio he saw was not the real Mio but a shadow version of her. The shadow's job is to kill real people, take their form, and replace them. But then again, you can probably guess what happens next. As soon as Shinpei dies, time resets again. This time, we see Shinpei kind of traveling backward through time, and while he is in this state, he hears Ushio's voice once again. She repeats the same words, "Protect Mio." Now, Shinpei returns to July 22nd once more, and just like before, Mio comes to receive him on her bicycle. But this time, Shinpei stops Mio's bicycle to prevent her from falling into the ocean. However, as a result, Shinpei himself falls into the water. Since Mio knows how to swim but Shinpei doesn't, he starts drowning. But then, Mio jumps into the water to save him. Meanwhile, on the other side, Hizuru was recording her whereabouts on her phone, and it looked like she was on some kind of secret mission. In fact, it seemed like someone had instructed her to keep an eye on the unusual events happening on Hitogashima. At the same time, Shinpei was talking to Shiori's family at the funeral. Then, he tricked Officer Tatsumura into leaving the area so that he wouldn't come to their street that night. Remember what happened last time? When Tatsumura entered the alley, the fake Mio killed him. So, if Tatsumura never comes to the alley this time, his life will be saved. Shinpei decides that no matter what, he has to save everyone tonight and collect proof against the shadows. He charges his phone and hides it outside to record the fake Mio. Then, he hides inside his room. Just to be sure, he checks and confirms that the real Mio is inside the bathroom, meaning that the Mio outside must be fake. During this time, Shinpei discovers something very strange. his eye color starts changing. That night, Shinpei successfully saves Tatsumura and also avoids getting killed himself. Moreover, he now has proof that the shadows are real. This means the recording was successfully captured. After this, Shinpei goes straight to Mio and shows her the recording of the fake Mio. Seeing this, Mio also realizes that the shadows are actually real. Now, Mio wants to go and save Shirori, but Shinpei tells her that he will handle it and that she should stay home. Shinpei then goes to Shiori's department store, where he meets someone named Shiomi. Together, they head to Shiori's house, where we already know what happened. Basically, the previous night, Shiori's entire family had turned into shadows. Right now, the house seemed empty, but somehow, Shinpei could see shadow residues on the floor in Shiori's apartment. After that, he enters Shiori's room, where her shadow is just about to attack him from behind. But just in time, Shiomi arrives, and the sound of her voice stops the shadow from attacking. Then, things start happening the same way as before, just like every loop. Shinpei then goes straight to Nakamura to ask if the girl in the black coat, Hizuru, had come there or not. Now, this explains why Nakamura later said at the restaurant that Shinpei had visited him, because Shinpei actually did visit him, but in a different loop. If it wasn't already clear, yes, there is a time loop concept happening here, which is really interesting. You'll get more clarity as the episodes progress. Anyway, Nakamura tells Shinpei that Hizuru isn't staying at any hotel. Then, at Alan's restaurant, the real Tatsumura arrives, since he survived last night. They start discussing Shiori's family again. Here, Tatsumura gives Shinpei Ushio's cell phone, saying that Ushio had met him a day before the incident and told him, "If anything happens to me, give my phone to Shinpei." This was very interesting, because it seemed like Ushio already knew that something was going to happen to her. Then, at the restaurant, So arrives, and the three of them, Mio, So, and Shinpei, team up to come up with a plan to fight the shadow sickness. Although Shinpei doesn't fully trust So yet, they still decide to visit the Hizuru shrine together. Since Shinpei knows that going there on the 23rd could be dangerous, they plan to meet the shrine's priest during the summer festival tomorrow. They also had a cheat code, which came from Mesopotamian culture. With this, they could confirm that everyone in their group was still real and that no one had turned into a shadow. On their way home, Mio tells Shinpei that it would be best if he stayed here forever. She also gives him Ushio's shell necklace. Now, the next day, July 24th, Ushio, Shinpei, So, and Takiko, who is So's sister, all go to the Hizuru shrine together. So deliberately made Mio wear a yukata, a traditional dress, because the shadow Mio is always in a school uniform. This way, they could easily distinguish between the two. All of them enjoy the festival together, and at that moment, So confesses to Shinpei that he is in love with Mio. Hearing this, Takiko asks Shinpei if he has any feelings for Mio. To this, Shinpei replies that he cares for her just like family, nothing more. This creates a kind of love triangle. So loves Mio. Mio seems to have feelings for Shinpei. And as viewers, we are unsure about who Shinpei actually likes. Just then, Shinpei spots Ushio in the distance, at the festival, and starts following her. Ushio was wearing the same dress she had on when the incident happened. As he chases after her, he reaches the beach, where Ushio is actually present. Now, you might be thinking, this is definitely Ushio's shadow, and she's here to kill Shinpei. But no, whether this is a shadow or something else, we will find out later. However, Ushio does not harm Shinpei. Instead, Ushio tells him that she doesn't remember anything from the past 3 days. She also says that she feels like a normal human. Then, Ushio confesses her love for Shinpei. At this point, it becomes clear that both Ushio and Mio have feelings for Shinpei. Shinpei hides Ushio in a storage house beneath the temple because, obviously, just 2 days ago, everyone had attended Ushio's funeral, and if she suddenly appeared in front of everyone, it would be extremely shocking. Shinpei then goes up to the temple, where all his friends were celebrating the summer festival. At this moment, So finally confesses his feelings to Mio, but Mio friendzones him. Takiko was about to say that Mio actually likes Shinpei, but she somehow holds herself back. Just then, Ushio comes running towards them, and all their friends recognize her voice and golden hair. Mio is unable to process what's happening and tells Ushio, "I know you're a shadow." At that moment, Shinpei grabs Ushio tightly from behind. Mio tells Shinpei to let go of this shadow, but Shinpei doesn't listen. In fact, he grabs her wrist so tightly that Ushio gets injured. That's when everyone realizes that this is not the real Shinpei, it's his doppelganger. So, what had actually happened? When Shinpei was returning to the temple after hiding Ushio in the storehouse, the fake Mio ambushed him and turned him into a shadow. Now, you might ask, why didn't fake Mio just kill Shinpei? Well, that's because the final mission of the shadows was supposed to be completed tonight. And as we all know, whenever Shinpei dies, time somehow resets and everything goes back to July 22nd. The shadows had also figured this out, and they didn't want to restart their plan from scratch. So instead of killing Shinpei, they injured him and left him at the temple. Meanwhile, the Shinpei standing in front of his friends was actually his shadow doppelganger. And since shadows can capture a person's memories, this shadow already knew everything about Shinpei. Back in the present timeline, the real, injured Shinpei overhears the fake Mio talking about someone called Mother, who was about to awaken soon. The fake Shinpei goes up to the temple, but Hizuru suddenly appears and shoots fake Mio with her special gun. That's when we realize Hizuru had come to this island specifically to eliminate the shadows. She then temporarily fixes Shinpei's broken arm. Here, we also learn more about Hizuru's true identity. She is actually Nagumo Ryonosuke, the famous novelist. Yes, the same novelist that Shinpei admired. She had even written a book about shadows. But Hizuru is her real name, while Ryonosuke is just her pen name. Since many authors write books under different names, just to avoid confusion, we'll keep calling her Hizuru throughout the video. Now, Hizuru explains to Shinpei how to differentiate between shadows and real humans. A shadow entity's true form is its shadow itself. If you destroy its shadow, the entity dies. If you step on a real human shadow, nothing happens. But if you step on a shadow entity's shadow, it will react. Basically, the point is, if a person's shadow moves unnaturally, then they're not human. They're a doppelganger. These shadows feed on people's old memories. And when a shadow completely replaces a real person, it leaves behind a black residue on the ground, which is something we've already seen multiple times throughout the series. For the past 3 days, Hizuru has been trying to eliminate the shadows, but their numbers keep increasing. Now, Shinpei and Hizuru head towards the temple, but soon, they realize something horrifying. The shadows have wiped out everyone. Even Takiko is killed by a shadow, and now, a massive black entity stands before them. This entity was about to complete the sacrifice for which the shadows had come here in the first place. We see that So sacrificed himself to save Mio, but unfortunately, he also dies. From behind, Hizuru shoots and eliminates the fake So. At this point, the only survivors on the battlefield are Mio, Shinpei, and Hizuru, along with Ushio, who was a good shadow. But then, the shadows attack and injure Hizuru. She realizes she only has one last bullet left. Just then, the shadow Shinpei grabs the real Shinpei and looks into his right eye. He says, "These eyes, they look just like our mother's. But why do you have them?" Suddenly, all the shadows begin melting and merging together. As Ushio disappears, she tells Shinpei to protect Mio. But before he can do anything, Mio also vanishes, leaving Shinpei completely helpless. Then, everyone else disappears too, and in the sky, a red light begins to glow. This was the Holy Mother of the Shadows. Now, the entire town falls under the Shadows' control, except for Hizuru and Shinpei. But there was something strange here. Dr. Hishigata already knew about this mother beforehand. In fact, even he didn't turn into a shadow. At the final moment, Shinpei tells Hizuru, "I still have one more chance." Since Hizuru had only one bullet left, she uses it to eliminate Shinpei. So, this day will reset once again, meaning that time will go back to July 22nd. And if that happens, then obviously, Shinpei will get another chance to fix everything. Hizuru understands Shinpei's plan and, as a result, she eliminates him. But before doing so, she says one thing. Next time when you return to life, just tell me your name, and I won't let you die. The shadow entity also tries to turn Shinpei into a shadow, but at the last moment, Ushio attacks the shadow and injures it. Now, since Hizuru has eliminated Shinpei, the day resets back to July 22nd. But this time, while time traveling, Ushio tells Shinpei, "You have limited power to go back in time. It's not unlimited, like we've seen in other movies. So, he needs to use it wisely." Shinpei doesn't fully understand this yet and returns home, where he creates a timeline chart, listing everything that has happened and when, so that he can analyze the situation better. In the next scene, we see that Ushio is also revived on July 22nd. This means that both Ushio and Shinpei are trapped in the time loop, and keep returning to the same point. Now, let's talk about Hizuru and what's happening to her. Because, if you remember, she was the one who saved everyone, by eliminating Shinpei and resetting the day. Since Hizuru remembers Shinpei's name and all past events, she immediately goes to Ushio's funeral. There, Ellen recognizes Hizuru from before. It turns out that Hizuru used to live in this village, and was a regular customer at Ellen's shop. She has returned to the village after 14 years. Through Hizuru's memories, we learn that Ellen was a single father with 2 daughters, Ushio and Mio. Their mother had passed away long ago, so these 2 girls spent most of their time at Ellen's restaurant, where the locals took care of them. Hizuru knew Ushio since childhood and was very attached to both sisters. But eventually, she left the island to study abroad. Now, in the present timeline, Hizuru learns about Shinpei from Ellen, who also tells her something shocking. There were strangulation marks on Ushio's neck. This suggests that her death was not an accident. Something was definitely wrong. Seeing the marks on Ushio's neck, Hizuru is shocked and furious. Right then and there, she opens Ushio's coffin in front of everyone, to examine the marks. Upon seeing them, she vows to find the one responsible. "Whoever did this to poor Ushio, I will not spare them." Meanwhile, Hizuru's old friend Asako also meets her. Asako is none other than Shiori's mother. However, Asako seems a little different, because she is actually a shadow, and Hizuru realizes this immediately. In the next scene, we see Hizuru talking to the hunter Nizu. This was the same man we saw earlier, talking about shadow sickness. Hizuru cries while thinking about the people on the island, and gives her phone to Nizu, saying, "I might get an important call on this." Meanwhile, Shinpei is going through the same events as before, but this time, he realizes that the entire Koboi Akawa family has become shadows. So, he starts searching for Hizuru. At the same time, Mio's doppelganger sends a copy of Ellen. Now, you might have noticed something interesting. The story is now progressing in 2 parallel timelines. That's why I will explain each timeline separately, so that everything remains clear. And as you remember, Hizuru had already learned about Shinpei from Ellen. So, Hizuru left a note for Shinpei, where she wrote her number and address. At the same time, Shinpei was also searching for Hizuru, so he asked people about her. That's when Ellen gave him the note with the number. When Shinpei calls Hizuru, he actually ends up talking to Nizu, who was watching him from afar. Nizu then shoots at Shinpei's shadow to check if he is real. Once confirmed, Nizu takes Shinpei to their secret hideout. Meanwhile, in the other story, the fake Mio sends Ellen's shadow, probably to eliminate Ellen. As the real Ellen enters a restroom cabin, someone places a maintenance board outside. Then, we see the fake Ellen entering the restroom, likely to kill the real Ellen. However, he notices the maintenance sign. So instead of opening Ellen's cabin, he checks the cabin next to it. To his surprise, Hizuru was hiding inside. She attacks the fake Ellen with a hammer, and completely eliminates him. But the real Ellen, who was still inside his cabin, remains unaware of all this. Now, Shinpei, Nizu, and Hizuru team up, and start planning everything ahead of time. Hizuru then reveals something shocking. 14 years ago, my entire family was wiped out by these cursed shadows. She explains that shadows usually target entire families. And if you eliminate a shadow in one timeline, then it cannot return in that same timeline. For example, since Hizuru destroyed Ellen's shadow, it won't appear in this timeline again. Even Hunter Nizu had a special kind of immunity against these shadows. Hizuru does not have any immunity against this sickness, but she has come to this island for a special reason, which we will learn about later. For now, the team has finally joined forces, which is a good thing. The first mission. Hizuru arrives at Shirori Kobayakawa's house and starts attacking everyone one by one. However, the fake Shirori proves to be stronger and manages to overpower Hizuru. At that moment, Hizuru stabs herself with a chopstick, which, for some unknown reason, causes Shirori to feel pain. She immediately runs to the third floor. Outside, Nizu is waiting, fully prepared. As soon as Shirori comes out in her shadow form, Nizu attacks her with pins and other sharp objects. Meanwhile, Shinpei smartly grabs hold of Shirori, allowing Nizu to finally capture her doppelganger. The Shadow's confession. The Shadow Shirori then confesses that she was the one who killed Ushio. Her only goal was to take her family and leave the island before the summer ended. The Shadows believed that if a shadow could completely replace a human by copying their mind, soul, and body, then there was no problem in doing so. In fact, Shirori even invites Shinpei to join her and the Shadows. But at the last moment, Hizuru eliminates her. Hizuru's mysterious past. Now, Hizuru's backstory is quite confusing, and even her name sounds a bit strange. So, we will discuss her character in more detail in upcoming videos. For now, just know that Hizuru is one of the lead characters, and she plays a crucial role in protecting the protagonist, Shinpei. Hizuru's backstory is scattered across multiple episodes, but I will compile everything and explain it in one dedicated video. Not in this one, but in one of the next 2 videos. After defeating Shirori, Shinpei returns home, while Nizu and Hizuru wait outside for Mio's doppelganger to arrive. Meanwhile, Mio starts crying because she was trying to cook but keeps failing. Seeing this, Shinpei takes over and starts cooking himself. As he cooks, he thinks to himself, if I change even the smallest thing, it might affect other events outside, which could make it harder to capture Mio's doppelganger. Ushio's return. While cooking, Shinpei suddenly notices that Ushio has entered the house. Panicking, he tries to hide her from everyone. Remember, I told you earlier that this time, Ushio has also come back? Well, now she is here. Ushio tells Shinpei that something big is going to happen on the 24th, and the monster will take control of everyone. This means that Ushio has also experienced the sacrificial event. That will happen during the 24th Summer Festival. Doubt and realization. Shinpei tells Ushio to hide in her room, and takes his dinner to his own room. Ushio's behavior doesn't seem suspicious at all, which makes Shinpei doubt whether she is really an enemy. At one point, he even considers killing Ushio with a knife, but her innocence stops him. Shinpei also remembers that Ushio saved him from a shadow, so he wonders, is it really right to eliminate her? He also recalls a fight they had before he left for Tokyo, where he had confessed his love to Ushio. Yes, it is revealed that Shinpei has always liked Ushio. Meanwhile, outside, Hunter Nizu and Hizuru are carefully observing and waiting for Mio's doppelganger to appear. They call Shinpei to update him, but we see something unexpected happening. Mio's doppelganger had already entered the house. Through her shadow form, Mio knocks on Shinpei's door, takes the plates and leaves. But right after she leaves, the fake Mio also opens Shinpei's door. In fact, she tries to stab Shinpei, but Ushio jumps in between and takes the attack instead. Now, Ushio fights back against the shadow, but the fake Mio slashes her arm. The fake Mio then asks Ushio, "Why are you, a shadow, siding with a human?" To which Ushio replies, "Because I love Shinpei, and I will always take his side." This makes fake Mio furious, and she is about to finish Shinpei off. But Nizu suddenly arrives and shoots her down. Yes. Finally, fake Mio is eliminated. Hizuru agrees to spare Ushio, and is about to eliminate Ushio's shadow too. But Shinpei requests her not to harm Ushio. Of course, we already know that Ushio's shadow isn't evil. Seeing Shinpei's genuine request, Hizuru agrees and even treats Ushio's injured arm. Now, the original Mio is safe, and the fake one is gone for good. Ushio's voice triggers Hizuru's memory. Hearing Ushio's voice, Hizuru suddenly remembers something. She realizes that Ushio was the one who asked her to come to the island. Now, Hizuru fully understands that Ushio is indeed a shadow, but a good one. To prove this, she plays a recording for Ushio. In the recording, Ushio had requested Hizuru to come to the island and find Shinpei, because only Shinpei can save everyone. However, Ushio doesn't remember any of this. Hizuru's ultimatum. Now, Hizuru makes an important decision. She tells Shinpei, "As long as you side with Ushio, I cannot work with you." Because all shadows share their memories, which means that if Ushio is with them, their plans will be exposed to the enemy. So, their strategies won't work. As Hizuru prepares to leave, Shinpei warns her, "On the afternoon of the 23rd, your life will be in danger." If you remember, fake Mio was supposed to kill Hizuru on the 23rd. But now that fake Mio is already dead, someone else might take her place and attack Hizuru. The next morning, Ushio feels hungry and goes downstairs to get food. Shinpei tells Mio not to go to her room for safety. Shinpei then shows Ushio her shell necklace, but she doesn't remember when she gave it to him. A mysterious video to repeat past events. Shinpei goes to the restaurant. At the beach, Shinpei and So are talking, when Ushio suddenly joins them. Of course, So gets scared seeing Ushio, but Shinpei explains everything to him. To prove that she's real, Ushio unlocks her phone and finds a video from Friday the 20th. Something shocking is in that video, but to find out what it is, you'll have to wait for the next episode. And that's it for today's video. As I mentioned earlier, this anime has a total of 25 episodes. So I'll be making 2 more videos to cover everything. In those videos, I'll not only explain the story clearly, but also discuss some theories. Right now, you must have a lot of questions like, where do these shadows come from? What is their true origin? Why are they invading? Why is Ushio's shadow different from the others? And most importantly, why was Shinpei chosen for this time loop? Well, I'll slowly reveal all the answers as I keep making more videos. Just make sure to get this video to 10 likes. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please like and share. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to Midnight Manga, because we bring awesome videos like this regularly.